Wouldn't it be typical Blues to beat Leicester at the King Power and then lose to Huddersfield and Rotherham? Like, wouldn't that just scream? Wouldn't that just scream Blues all over?
But do you know what, Matt? I look at the fixtures we got left, and however we get the points, I don't care where they come from. I'm sure you feel the same. I'm sure all Blues fans feel the same. It don't matter if we lose to Rotherham, fair enough, as long as we get the points somewhere else. But you know for a fact, Blues are never going to do what you expect them to do. This is Birmingham City.
But would you support any other club? Would you have it any other way?
So welcome back to Smallheath Alliance FC, and this weekend Birmingham City travel to Leicester City in a really crucial championship match for both teams. Leicester are near the top of the table and they need to win the game to keep tabs with what's happening with Ipswich and Leeds United. And of course Birmingham City, we need the points. We need to get ourselves out of trouble. Now we're just coming off the back of an absolutely fantastic 1-0 home win against Preston North End, and in this video myself and Matt are going to be talking about the Leicester game, what we think may happen, talking about some of the key players and just giving our general opinion. So I'm going to bounce it straight over to Matt and say, Matt, what's your opinion on the Leicester game?
Well, there's no doubt about it. You know, Leicester are a quality team. I think their squad's valued at something like 200 million, and their wage bill's very high. I think they've got themselves in a little bit of trouble with FFP, but there's no denying the depth they have, the quality they have. And I was watching the Leicester-Norwich game on the concourse when we were at St.Andrews on Monday, and all the big guns are out. Mavadidi, Dewsbury Hall, Vestergaard, Harry Winks. It was a full-strength Leicester team, and we've got our work cut out for us. We can get into this a little bit later, but Leicester have an interesting form record over the past sort of 10 games. And QPR have been there and managed to pick up points, and I think Middlesbrough managed to get a win there as well. So it is a place you can go and get a result, the King Power. And I'm hoping Gary Rowett continues with the setup that we had at Preston, that graft, that hard work, because we spoke, didn't we, on our previous video, Preston, the improvement with the players and their passion, their drive. I think if we can go to the King Power with that Gary Rowett mentality and that strength, I think we might do okay. But it's going to be a tough game. And Leicester are one of those teams. There's two teams in the league for me which really scare me going forward. It's Leicester and it's Ipswich.
Yeah.
And both of these teams get forward in numbers. They get forward with speed. And when they go at you, it's almost like they overwhelm and suffocate teams with the pressure and the press. But if you're a neutral watching them and you've got nothing at stake, it's quite impressive to watch how they go at teams. But when it's your team, you're just sitting there going, oh, my word. And we saw it at St.Andrews, didn't we? I mean, fair play under Rooney's tenure. Leicester was probably one of his better games, but we got caught on the break 2 or 3 times. We had Mavadidi go through and Dewsbury Hall go through, and I hope we get a result just off the back of what Mavadidi did after he scored, plunking himself into the tilt and the cheeky bugger. Me too. But I think we have to go there with that warrior fight, that mentality. And we need to cut out silly mistakes and errors. I must admit that the area that makes me nervous, and when you think about Leicester's striking force, is our centre halves. When I think of Sanderson and Iwu, I think of possible mistakes. I think of possible errors there. But I think it's going to be a tough game, and we need to set up well and, as I have that fight in us, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, they set off this season like a steam train. Everybody thought that they were going to break records because they won so many games. In fact, they went flying, didn't they? They took a massive lead, and they have stumbled recently.
The fact that Leeds and Ipswich are there with them shows that, one, it shows how much of a good season Leeds and Ipswich are having, but it shows that how they have had a couple of losses and draws recently, haven't they? Yeah,
I think Ipswich have the surprise package in by a mile in the Championship, and rightly they deserve where they are. I'd had a couple of extra teams going forward, like Leeds United and Southampton, these ex-Premier League clubs as well. They're very good going forward, but Leicester have, in the last 10 games, they've won 5, lost 4. And drawn 1. So they have had a bit of a blip. But, of course, now we're getting to the business end of the season. They're really going to have to keep, particularly with what's happening with Ipswich and Leeds, they're going to have to keep the pressure on them. So they're going to be all out gunning for us. And I think you're right. They're really going to come at us. Absolutely no doubt. I mean, we've seen them twice, haven't we? Seen them at St.Andrews when they beat us 3-1. And
3-2.
Sorry, 3-2. Of course, it was 3-2. Sorry. And they were really good, weren't they?
On the counter and the speed, it's impressive to watch.
And then we saw them in the FA Cup when we went to Leicester, and we were really brilliant for the first half. And then second half, they made some substitutions,
they brought the big guns
some
on,
quality players, and they beat us 3-0 in the end. But the problem with playing teams like Leicester and Southampton and Leeds, they are clearly ex-Premiership teams and teams that are likely to go back because they've got that extra resource. You mentioned the value of their squad. you compare that to ours. I mean, there is no comparison. And this is what we're up against now. And we're going to have players, we'll talk about the players in a moment, that are going to be flying at us.
Yeah.
And that's where you've made that massive point, which is so correct. Our players have got to be so focused and so concentrated. I hope he sets us up. Well, I'm pretty sure he'll set us up very defensively, because there's no point us going at Leicester in the way that we have tried with the players that we've got. We need to try and catch them on the break, clearly, but not go gung-ho, because like they did against us at St.Andrews, they'll just break, and they're fast.
Yeah, they are.
And they'll destroy us if we don't be compact and concentrated.
That's the thing, isn't it? Your Leicesters, your Leedses, your Ipswiches and stuff, they will punish you for silly mistakes. You know, so we've seen it against Middlesbrough, we've seen it against Watford, and no disrespect to those teams, but those are the mid-table mid-table playoff possible pushing teams. When you get to the next threshold of the Championship, you get punished left, right, and centre. So those silly mistakes, those days are gone now. We cannot afford to be dilly-dallying on the ball. But I'm almost certain Leicester will set up in a 4-3-3.
Yeah, that's right. I think they will.
And their particular threat is down that left-hand side, Dewsbury Hall feeding into Mavididi. It's definitely a big threat of Leicester's. And our right-hand side, in theory, they're going to be playing against either Laird or Drama. I'm going to bank my money on Laird off the back of how Router set us up against Preston. Yeah. So he's going to have a fantastic game to keep those at bay for sure. But Leicester are a good team. They like to play high possession. They like short passes. They like quick transitions. So I agree with you. I think Rowett's going to have to set us up just naturally to your opponent and a little bit more defensively, and hope that we possibly catch them on the counter and stuff. And there's no shame in that. And I would be happy, if we can come away with a draw.
Yeah.
Boring, absolutely boring, 0-0. I would be absolutely buzzing with that if Rowett just sets us up a little bit more defensively. But
me too.
And I know you've done your research. I know you've got your players and your stats. But let's go through them now then. So a couple of key men for Leicester. You got Dewsbury Hall, 11 goals, 13 assists. That is just mind-blowing, isn't it? Vardy's got 14 goals. Mavididi, 11 goals, 5 assists. And Daka's got 7 goals and 4 assists. And I'm sure you're going to add a couple more to the pile there. But yeah, they're going to be gunning for us because they're going to want to break away again or catch up with Ipswich and Leeds. And we're going to be fighting for everything because we're in the midst of a relegation battle. So it's going to be a really interesting contest.
But the thing that you mentioned a few players there, but Leicester have got goals all over the team. Is it Fatawu? He's got 10 assists this season. He's a right winger as well. Inacho, 5 goals. But one player I really like is Harry Winks.
Harry Winks, yeah.
He is. I think what a great signing he was for them, or he is for them. And
big money though.
It was big money, and that's something that we can't compete with. That. No, not at the moment, but maybe X amount of years in the future we might be able to. But at the moment we can't. You bring a player like him in, and every time I've seen him play, he literally just controls me. He's one of those players that people talk about controlling the midfield, and he does it so naturally as well. I think he's a dangerous player because he links up everything.
He does.
So as obviously all the goal threats that you've mentioned, I've just mentioned, they're key, and we have to cut them out. But players like him, and also as well, they're strong at the back as well. In fact, their home record, it's interesting now. They've played 19, won 14 of those, drawn 1, so they don't draw many and lost 4. What worries me about us, our away record, and we mentioned this. If you watch this channel on a regular basis, you'll know that me and Matt are constantly this season talking about how really, really poor away record. Our away record is 1-3. Drawn 3, lost 14.
Yeah.
Now, the stats would tell you that with their fantastic home record and our poor away record, there is only one outcome, but this is football.
Yeah.
And it's unpredictable. And I think we're going to have an outstanding game, and I think we're going to have to ride our luck a little bit. Yeah. And I think they're going to come at us. But I agree with you. If we can get anything out of this game, it'll be a bonus.
Well, they've just beaten Norwich. We've just beaten Preston. So both teams go into it with a little bit of short-term confidence from the week prior. But I think this could be decided, and we say this a lot, but I really mean it against the teams like Leicester and stuff. If we do a sloppy mistake or an unforced error and we let Leicester in through the door, that could be our downfall this game. But there's no point in denying it, Blues fans. They have a lot more quality than we do. They're a Premier League side in the waiting. They got relegated recently, so they got the parachute payments. They sold James Maddison in the summer for big money. Harvey Barnes, exactly. Yeah. So we cannot deny the quality that Leicester have, and we are in for a hell of a Saturday. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tense. But as you say, I think the key is going to be hopefully Rowett sets us up a little bit more defensive minded. We hopefully catch him on the counter. If we have no mistakes and no unforced errors, and everyone's having a blinder, I must admit, I still can't see much past possibly a draw. I just can't see us coming away from the King Power with a win, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, I think mistakes and concentration levels and all that needs to be gone now, and we need to be on it for the full 90 plus 6 plus 7 plus 10, whatever it is.
Yeah, they are beatable. I mean, obviously, Queen's Park Rangers won there. Hull City have won there. So they've lost to a few teams you wouldn't expect them to lose against. Now, I've made a note here that if I was Gary Rowett, and obviously I'm not, but
You are Gary.
I am a Gary. I am a Gary. That's the only similarities I've got, believe me. Yeah. But I'd be tempted to set us up as a 4-5-1.
Yeah,
we're going to be defensive anyway, so let's have a really compact midfield and try and cut out their supply lines and have a good solid back four behind them. So basically, it's going to be defence first, but obviously that unravels if they score early.
Yes,
do you see what I mean? So it may be that he'll have a bit of a fluid type of formation that will adapt to the way the game's going. But I think it's crucial in this game, in my opinion. Bakuna, absolutely crucial because he's the type of player that needs to. Miyoshi as well, if he can play like he did against Preston, and I wouldn't be surprised. And we have again something that we haven't seen as well. But Dembele has been an unused substitute in the last 2 games. Is that telling us a story? Does in terms of whether he's trusted? Because I think he's a really good player. I mean, I think you can obviously see that there's so much talent and bags of talent with Dembele, and he's the type of player that could unlock a game like this that can go around playing. But does Gary Rowett trust him enough to put? I don't think he'll start. But is it worth maybe bringing him on? If I think we made the mistake, we learnt our lessons from when Mark Venus was manager when we played Ipswich Town. I think we were nice and compact and was 1-1 up until about 82nd minute, and then he brought on some substitutes that were supposed to make us more progressive, but we ended up losing the game because we tried to chase after them and they cut us up when we were.
And that was Dembele who didn't track back for the second goal.
For the one of the goals. And that's the dangerous thing. At the end of the day, what Gary Rowett's done, which I'm really happy about, he's clearly come and he's looked at the players. He said, okay, this is the way you're comfortable playing. This is the way I'm going to play you. Not, we need to get goals. Let's suddenly all turn into Ronaldo or Messi because we need to get a goal, because we just can't do that. So keep the players comfortable in what they're doing. As I say, I would be tempted if I was Gary Rowett to consider a really defensive 4-4, only because we've seen Leicester twice now. And we know how good they are. They are fast. They are very, very fast on the transition. And if we're not compact, and I think as well, one final thing for me in this as well, every player has to win their battle. They have to concentrate and they have to cut out those silly mistakes and take the approach, if in doubt, kick it out.
100%.
Because we saw a few little passages against Preston where the players were like kicking it around the back and the Preston players were clowning, and we're thinking, no, just kick it. If you do this against Leicester, they will. They'll punish us. So.
Honestly, modern football's not made for me. I have a heart attack every time we pass it around the back. I don't know whether other fans get this with their clubs as well. I don't know whether it's just because we have Ruddy passing it into the likes of Sanderson and Buchanan and whatnot, but I absolutely poo my pants every time they start passing it around the back. It's modern football though, isn't it? Playing out from the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree. And also, just to come back to your argument with Dembele, though, imagine if Dembele's in the final third, he gives it away. The speed Leicester are then going to come at us if Dembele does lose the ball. So I think he's a risk in a game like this. However, it's a double-edged sword because how do you unlock a team like Leicester? I think someone like Bakuna is probably the safer pair of hands.
I think if you're losing 1-0 and you got 85 minutes, 85 minutes, you might think, well, actually, we might as well have a go, because if they score another, we're going to lose 2-0. We're going to lose anyway. Yeah. So, but I think with your 85 minutes, maybe that he might be somebody that Rowett might think, well, he might be able to unlock a door here. But I agree that then there's the risk. But I think the fact, that shows that he hasn't been picked as he hasn't been brought off the bench in the last 2 games, suggests that that maybe he's felt at the moment to be a bit of a risk. It's a shame, really. I really feel a shame because he's such a skillful player. Well, you see him go around, and there's so much he could offer if he could just give us that extra bit in terms of tracking back. Overall, Matt, a very, very tough game, and I think that it's sort of, for us, a bit of a free hit in as much as nobody's going to expect us to get anything from this game. No. I think the fact that we've beaten Preston as well gave us those really 3 important points, because if we hadn't have beaten Preston, got a draw or even defeated, it would have put something, this game would have been, almost, well, we have to get something from it.
Isn't it, wouldn't it be typical Blues to beat Leicester at the King Power and then lose to Huddersfield and Rotherham? Like, wouldn't that scream Blues all over?
But do you know what, Matt? I look at the fixtures we got left, and however we get get the points,
No.
I don't care where they come from. I'm sure you feel the same. I'm sure all
100%.
Blues fans feel the same. It don't matter if we lose to Rotherham, fair enough, as long as we get the points somewhere else. But you know for a fact, Blues are never going to do what you expect them to do. This is Birmingham City.
But would you support any other club? Would you have it any other way? No. People were commenting this on social media. They were going, we're in the relegation zone. The sun was out. We beat Preston. There was a UB40 concert. Fair enough. This isn't a great moment in this club's history. Would you support anyone else? You wouldn't, would you?
Of course you wouldn't. You'd never support anybody else. This is Birmingham. This is what we love.
It's a brilliant club.
So hopefully we can get something out of this game. But let's see.
It's a tough one. And just jumping back, because obviously we're all on the high from Preston. We're all buzzing that we got 3 points, and I love it. I'm fully there. And Blues fans, if you watch this podcast regularly, we are an optimistic channel. But I do just want to remind people of the recent games where we've had unforced or goals that we shouldn't have conceded. And there's a lot, the Watford game, Middlesbrough game, even the QPR game and the Millwall game. Some of them were quite late goals as well. And they were all goals that were avoidable, all goals that we should have done better on. And some of them were mistakes as well. So I cannot hit that message home hard enough. We need to stop and cut out those silly mistakes, and we possibly stand half a chance of bringing something back. But it's going to be a tough game. I'm excited for it though, because as you said, the pressure's off Blues to an extent in the context of that no one's going to expect us to get anything from the game. So I hope the boys go out there, fight for everything, like we saw in the Preston game, give a good account for themselves, and the Blues fans will clap you off the pitch if we feel that fight and that desire for you in that game.
Yeah, and that's all we ask for, isn't it, Blues fans? We just want to see our team fighting for us. We saw that against Preston, and we just hope that that will be the blueprint now for the remaining games. But we'd love to know what you think about the Leicester game. Do you think we are capable of getting something from Leicester? Add a comment below and let us know. It'd be great. It's always great to hear your comments and hear your thoughts. And if you did like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to check us out on our social media channels, where you'll see the handles which will come up on the screen right now. That is our X account and our Instagram account. And also as well, if you haven't already done so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any future content all about Birmingham City. And myself and Matt will see you on the next video.